Hola, buenos días. This is an experiment. We're trying something new. This is called a screencast, so I can show you all the things that we need to learn while I'm gone without me being there. So vamos a hablar de lo que ustedes van a hacer hoy día y también el próximo día de clase. You can pause this whenever you need to and go back to it, and it'll be posted on the website and it'll stay there so you can refer back to it if you need to. Hoy día, el horario. Ustedes van a hacer buenas noticias, charlas, vocabulario de 5.1 y gramática 4.1, el imperfecto. It was in 4.1 and we skipped it because we did other things. So, las cosas nuevas que ustedes van a hacer is the vocab, which is all about food, and then the imperfect, which is the past. We've talked about that a little bit. That's not the preterite. También ustedes van a usar algo se llama conjuguemos para hacer practicar de los verbos y finalmente ustedes van a tener tiempo para hacer tu tarea en clase. You should have time to finish everything hoy día, including tu tarea. Please do what you're supposed to do and finish everything so everything is not a hot mess when I come back and we need to slow down and fix it. You should be able to finish everything. Yes, please do it well. Los objetivos para hoy es charlar y escuchar, aprender el vocabulario de comida, aprender other past tense form, which is the imperfect, learn a little bit about what that is. I'll be explaining it more when I get back, but you should have a general understanding over the next 2 days. También ustedes van a usar conjuguemos. Some of you used this last year. We're going to try it again to work on your verb conjugation practice and then hacer la tarea. Buenas noticias. You can pause this now, share buenas noticias to someone next to you, tell them what you did over break. Siguiente, las charlas. Ustedes todavía tienen que hacer charlas, even when I'm not there. The sub should have your charla hoja de papel where you need to write down los comentarios. You are writing 2 things each person said, o puedes escribir estrellas y deseos, that's fine too. Okay, las preguntas hoy, ¿cómo fueron tus vacaciones? Vacaciones, this is plural, so you need to be answering in the plural form. Mis vacaciones fueron. ¿Qué hiciste? ¿Qué no hiciste? I'm missing a pregunta mark right here. Pretend it's there. ¿Qué jugaron tu familia y tú? ¿Y con quién estuviste? These questions are a repaso del pretérito because we're moving on from the preterite to the imperfect. Important that you remember how the preterite works. Okay, so pause this now so you can do this. Alright, siguiente. Para el vocabulario, ya están todas las palabras de vocabulario en Quizlet. Okay, so I put everything in Quizlet for you. You already have it. También el sub tiene la hoja de papel, a lista de vocabulario. It looks like this. Okay, right here. You have everything. This is what you're filling out. So ustedes van a hacer esta parte acá, and then you will be doing the back later. Okay, it looks like this. Alright, so first thing you need to do, please, is completa la lista de vocabulario de la comida. Ustedes van a escribir una receta. Next class, you're going to be writing a recipe using these words, so start thinking about a recipe that you'd like to use. Después, ustedes van a hacer Quizlet 5.1 comida y 5.1 verbos. Tienes que hacer los 2, por favor. Y ustedes van a hacer 2 de cada uno. Alright? Okay. También, después, ustedes van a dibujar las fotos. En tu prueba, in your quiz you'll have when I get back, you'll be drawing 2. So this is good practice. So, todas estas cosas tienen que hacer. You have more than enough time to do this, 20 a 25 minutos. Some of you will finish early, move on. Okay, this is why I set this up this way so you can move on if you need to, if you have more than enough time. Alright. Siguiente. I'm going to keep moving this little box so you can read everything. Alright, gramática. It's on the hoja azul. You need this before you can go through this, so make sure the sub is handed out / you've gotten your hoja azul. That's all about the imperfect. Okay. It looks like this, so you can see it. We're starting here. Again, pretend there's a question mark here and here. I think I added it on your paper. We're starting right here with the definición, so you can follow along. El imperfecto is a past tense that isn't the preterite. It doesn't exist in English. This isn't a thing in English at all. So it's confusing, it's very confusing, it's hard to learn, and we'll be going over it multiple times, but really important that you start to understand it now. It's also past tense that's used to describe actions without a specific start or ending. The preterite talks about things at a certain time. So yesterday, the day before yesterday, last week, last month, last Christmas, etc. El imperfecto does not designate a certain amount of time. It's much more vague. So here's an example in English. Preterite, last Christmas I played soccer with my cousins. That's a specific time. It was last Christmas. It was the 25th of December. You played soccer with your cousins, or I played soccer with my cousins. Imperfect is more general. When I was little, I played soccer with my cousins. We don't know when. We don't know how many times it happened. There wasn't a specific start or ending of the action. That is the difference with the imperfect. If you notice in English, the conjugation's the same. So all we use in English is time markers, last Christmas and when I was little, but we don't change the way the verb is conjugated. It's I played in either instance. In Spanish, there's two different ways of saying this. They do not believe in Spanish that playing soccer once is the same as playing soccer over and over again with your cousins when you were little. So they choose to conjugate it two different ways. All right, that's the definition. Pause that if you need more time. All right. Cuando lo usas. We will be going over this again. You'll have a quiz on it later next week, not right now. But important that you start to understand. When you use the imperfect, there's this little acronym to help you so you remember how to use it. It's cheats. That's how you remember, okay? So imperfect is for continuous actions in the past, ongoing actions, like playing soccer with your cousins. It was continuous, it happened more than one time, we can assume. Habitual, repeated action. So when I was little, I brushed my teeth at night. It means you did it lots of times, it happened all the time. It wasn't just one time that you brushed your teeth at night. Okay. E, emotional, mental, physical condition, description of people. So when we were doing a star, sometimes you were trying to use estuve to talk about your feelings in the past, but you wouldn't actually. You would use estaba. You would talk about it in the imperfect. All feelings, anytime pretty much you would use a star, you would be talking in the imperfect. So mental, physical condition. If you're describing people, she was ugly, ella era fea, you would use also the imperfect to talk about that, not the preterite. Because we don't know when it started and ended her being ugly exactly. It just happened. It wasn't a certain amount of time. Age. Age is always in the imperfect. So if you want to say, I was 15, you said tenía 15 años. It would be tenía. You would not use tuve. It's not in the preterite. It's in the perfect. Time is also always with the imperfect. Anytime you're setting the scene, you guys will be writing stories about when you were little. And to set the scene of things like it was raining, it was snowy, it was hot, blah, blah, blah. All those things are in the imperfect. Simultaneous past actions, setting the scene. This is the hardest thing, and we'll spend the most time on this. If you're telling a story, the setting of the scene needs to be in the perfect. So if you're going to say, like, once upon a time in the middle of nowhere, there lived 3 little bears, and it was 2 o'clock, and it was sunny, and there was no rain, and the sky was beautiful, blah, blah. All those things are in the imperfect, not in the preterite. So setting a scene for a story is in the imperfect, and then the actions would be in the preterite. We'll talk more about that later. Okay, you need to write this down. This is on your worksheet. You should have already written this down. Pause that if you need to do that now. All right. Key phrases in el pretérito. For the beginning, when it's harder for you to tell when to use the preterite and when to use the imperfect, the easiest way to do that is to just pay attention to the words that come before it. You can tell what you want to use for the imperfect because it's these things. This right here, see right here where it says preterite, that should say imperfect. Okay, let's change that. Imperfecto. Lucky that I can still make mistakes even when I'm not there. Okay. Imperfecto. So all of these things, all these phrases are things that you would be saying if you're using the imperfect. So if you see a reading and you're trying to figure out if it would be in the imperfect or the preterite, you know which one it would be based on these words. Nunca, never, de vez en cuando, once in a while, mucho, todos los días, every day or all the days, normalmente, siempre. All those things are talking about habitual actions, things that happen more than once. So if you see these words, you know that you're dealing with the imperfect and not the preterite. The preterite has other words like ayer, la semana pasada, all those words we've been using in the charlas to indicate a certain time, you would not be using in the imperfecto. Imperfecto is more of these words that are habitual. Okay, let's move on. We're going to quickly talk about AR verbos, ER verbos, IR verbos, and how they're conjugated in el imperfecto. All right, AR verbos, estar, really important because this is used with present progressive. Estar, los conjugaciones, you should be saying these with me, are estaba, estabas, estaba, estábamos, and estaban. Important things to pay attention to are that the yo and the la usted form and the imperfect are the same. It's weird and it's confusing. It means you need to include the pronoun when you're talking about it, but that's how it is. Only one with an accent is estábamos. It's right here. Mitchell, I double checked these ahead of time, so I'm sure these are where the accents are, so don't worry about it. They're for sure here. Okay, right here, estaba bailando, I was dancing. Estaba comiendo, I was eating. That is how you use it with the present progressive. On your hoja de papel, you're going to need to do this too. Pay attention to this. So it changes the same way as it does in the present progressive regularly, except that you're using the imperfect. Okay? All right. So this little meme right here, it says, Profe, él también estaba hablando. He was also talking. Not at a specific time, but he was talking too. We don't know when, but he was. Okay, ER verbos. Por ejemplo, hacer. Right here you see, hacía mucho frío. It was cold. Hacía mucho frío. Not a specific time, but it was. The conjugations, hacía, hacías, hacía, hacíamos, hacían. So these, make sure you're paying attention to yo, ela, usted. They change the same way. Okay? Besides that, these are pretty normal. They go how you would expect them to if you remember the rule. All right, IR verbos are the same as ER verbos, so that makes it easy to remember. You have salía, salías, salía, salíamos, and salían. Okay, fix that. Salían. All right. This little thing says, en la verdad salía conmigo solo para darle celos a su exnovio. She was really going out with me to make her to give jealousy to her ex-boyfriend. So she was going out with me. It wasn't a specific time, but she was. It happened. It was part of the story. So when you're telling a story, again, it would be in the imperfect. Salía right here, conjugated in the imperfect. She didn't go out with him one time. She did it habitually. All right, verbs that change, like these verbs, también está en tu hoja de papel. Estar, llorar, jugar, regresar, sacar, contar, all change like estar. You should be able to figure out how to conjugate that based on the rules we talked about for AR verbos right up here. Okay? Hacer, verbs that change like that. Tener, querer, ver. Change the same as these. Okay, right here. Y para IR, salir, dormir, preferir. Change like salir. Okay, so you have the rule, you know how to do that. All right, práctica. Ustedes tienen que practicar las conjugaciones. You need to practice conjugations. Ustedes van a hacer la parte de atrás de esta hoja azul. Ustedes tienen 3 a 5 minutos. So, poner una pausa acá. Alright, conjuguemos. Para hacer conjuguemos, ya he escrito instrucciones. I already wrote you directions. What you're going to do is you're going to go here. Avancemos dos. Vas a ir allá. Then you're going to select all the things you want. Okay, so you are going to make sure that you are following the directions up here. You want to go to Unit 4, Lesson 2, Cumulative. Okay, and then you are going to be choosing imperfect, and then all verbs, all but vosotros, set it for 5 minutes, and then press start. Okay, that's how you do it. It gives you different verbs so you can practice your conjugation. You can work on this by yourself. We'll be doing it in partners next week. Okay, that's how you do it. Pause it and rewind this. If that was confusing, I wrote the directions too. Okay, para tu tarea, ustedes tienen que completar tu trabajo en clase. You need to complete your classwork. That should already be done. If it's not, finish it, please. Después, ustedes tienen tarea, cuaderno, páginas 97 hasta 99. Okay, that's vocab. I'll check it when I get back. We're going to have like a little homework quiz. Make sure you do it well. You need to know the vocab. You need to understand the conjugaciones del imperfecto. All right, adiós, chao. Tengas un buen día.